Welcome once again to the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton of Axum Planning and Wealth. I am Spike Spangle. Tim, who's got our hands inside our retirement pockets?
You mean who's got dibs on our nest egg?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's our kids that we're passing on to. But I will tell you, there's a couple other people that have their hand out. The IRS. Taxes are a big piece of that. Inflation wants to get into our pocket. Doctors, nursing home, Medicaid. I mean, there's a lot of people with their hands out, Spike, and we've got to decide if we're going to give up some of that to them or if we're going to keep it and pass it on to who we really want to give it to.
On today's program, who's got dibs on your retirement savings? We want to try to keep as many hands out of your retirement pockets as possible. But there are some things that are some absolute needs, some real costs. So we want to try to help you have a perspective on what some of those costs might be, and more importantly, what you can do about it. That's what I really like, is we're always trying to provide solutions for folks. Let's go to updated healthcare numbers. This is something that we've talked about many times, television and radio together. The numbers have been updated on healthcare costs in retirement.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, as we're looking at healthcare being a part of that pie, let's say that you have $1 million nest egg. Some of the studies are showing that healthcare costs could be as much as $400,000 of that number, 40% of that retirement nest egg.
So when you say 400,000, if we go to the retirement number, now we can use air quotes. We love using air quotes on the radio show.
We also do air quotes on radio, but it gets lost in the...
WHIO, if you're looking for us on the weekends, we do a full hour. Tim does a full hour of educational help, trying to make sure that everybody here in Ohio can be and stay retired. But air quotes work a lot better here. Yeah. If we've got $1 million in savings for retirement and 400,000 of it is used on healthcare costs, am I doing the math right on that? We've got 600,000 left over, or, I mean, 400,000 isn't taken out in one chunk.
Right.
So there could be some growth over time.
And it might not happen. I mean, you could be in a situation where you don't have to spend that much. The problem is, if you do and you're not prepared, that's where the wheels kind of fall off.
Yeah. So again, thinking about this $400,000 number, are you including long-term care inside this number as well, or is that an outside cost?
Well, it's part of that overall picture. And so, you know, it's an estimate. And, you know, I don't like estimates. As we've talked about on our shows, you know, a stay in a nursing home could be anywhere from $3,500 a month to $15,000 a month. And so, you know, when we're doing averages and we're doing planning, you know, it's not an exact figure. That's why when we've got to have a plan that is reflective of you and your family. It's so hard to give just evergreen advice of you should have this much put away and you should have this investment mix and here's how you should solve the potential nursing home stay. In a one-size-fits-all format, it doesn't work and potentially could lead to disaster if you do it wrong.
Right, but there is a tool that we do like talking about, and we call it kind of a hybrid tool that you can use either for income, possibly for long-term care needs. Let's open with a solution today on the program. What is this tool like? Is it cost prohibitive? When do we need to start thinking about it, et cetera?
Well, I'm going to give you 3 potential solutions.
Okay.
You asked for one, so this is not a BOGO. This is a BO 3.
Buy one, get one 3. Yeah, exactly.
So here's the first solution. You know, I can look at long-term care and the potential cost and simply look at other assets I have as a solution to that. We had a client that owned an apartment building, for example, and she didn't need this apartment building. It was worth about $750,000. The plan was to pass it on to the kids when she was gone, but secondarily, if she went into a nursing home, that was how she funded it. She was self-insured. Another way to look at it is a lot of times we have cash. So let's say that you have $100,000 sitting in checking, savings, maybe a low yield CD. This is a way to avoid that dollar for dollar out of pocket to a nursing home, where you take that $100,000. There's products out there that we can use where it'll lever up that $100,000 and turn it into $300,000 for a nursing home. You're waiting for number three. Number three is maybe you have an old life insurance policy, an old whole life, index universal life, something like that, that can be repurposed for a potential nursing home stay. If created correctly, if you build it the right way, we can actually use the death benefit as a nursing home benefit. It comes out tax-free. All we have to do is not be able to do 2 of the 5 activities of daily living.
And being able to look at some of these tools that we've had, there are laws that are in place that allow you to do these replacements. Being able to use some of the equity that you've already put into something. Look, we're trying to help folks figure out exactly how do we fix the long-term care solution, and there's positive things to think about.
Absolutely, and the state of Ohio wants you to do that. The state of Ohio many years ago passed a rule that basically if you're proactive about getting a certain amount of coverage for a long-term care stay, the state of Ohio will exempt that same dollar amount from Medicaid. Great opportunity there.
Oh my gosh.
So if we get the right planning in place, the state is supporting it, you're supporting it, you're taking care of your family, you're protecting that nest egg, and there's not a more important thing to ensure than what you've worked your entire life for.
Right. And putting these things together, so on today's program, we're kind of talking about who else kind of puts their hands on your retirement money. We'll get to the estate planning, all that kind of stuff in a little bit, but how does the retirement blueprint itself address some of these, what we kind of call them, blind spots of retirement spending?
Well, the retirement blueprint is not just about figuring out, what should I invest in, or, how should my money be diversified. That is the end result of the plan. The meat of the plan is all of the what ifs. What if my spouse passes away? How will I replace that income? What if one of us goes into a nursing home? How do I combat inflation? How do I keep more of my nest egg away from IRS and not have our IRA turn into an IOU to the IRS.
Oh, you're playing phrase master on me. I like that. Tim, we know that our viewers out there right now, they can get started on their own retirement blueprint literally by just calling the phone number down on the bottom of the screen. You're not going to be calling into the show. We have operators standing by at our secure call center, and they will set up an appointment for you. You can get your complete written financial plan, your retirement blueprint done just by setting up that appointment and sitting down with Tim and the team. You can also scan the QR code. If you open up your smartphone to the camera function right over here and place it on that, click on it, it'll take you over to the website. You can schedule your own appointment if you prefer not to dial the phone number. But there are many different things that can send our retirement off course. Watch this message right here. We'll continue more with Tim Lofton right after this.
Are you concerned that high inflation, rising interest rates, and stock market volatility may derail your retirement plan? Are you concerned about running out of money in retirement? Let Axum Planning and Wealth help evaluate your retirement readiness. Contact us today to claim a spot on our calendar for a complimentary review. Let us plan your tomorrow today. Did you ever think that your own retirement would be shared with our government? It's true. Your 401k, IRA, pension, or similar retirement accounts are in partnership with Uncle Sam. Simply put, they want their tax dollars and you have them. With our latest tax calculator, you can plug in your own numbers while sitting at home to see what your tax liability to Uncle Sam will be. You can scan the QR code or go to blueprinttaxbill.com.
Welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton of Axum Planning and Wealth. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Today we're talking about who else has their hands in your retirement pockets, more importantly on that retirement savings. And of course, as we just saw on that previous message, taxes are a big part of it. You put together that free tool, the blueprinttaxbill.com.
Right.
But we've been getting a couple of phone calls, a couple of emails. what exactly, again, is the Roth conversion? You and I know we've explained this many, many, many times,
Yes.
but I think for audience member hearing it for the first time, I mean, we've been told save tax deferred for decades. Now we're talking about trying to get Uncle Sam out of that account.
Well, and it's interesting because people come into our office every week and they have a lot of money in 401ks, IRAs. They did what they were told to do. Everybody said, hey, you need to save tax deferred, and it's a great deal. And they're not wrong. But when you look at the outcome, the potential problems is required minimum distribution, and how do we get in front of that? And that is the amount of money the IRS makes you take out once you get to, for most people, 73, 74. And that's about a 4% of total value, and then it just keeps going up. And so we're going to have this forced income on us that if we don't need it, and this is the key, if we don't need that income, maybe you are lucky enough to have a pension and Social Security and your spouse has the same, and you're looking at all this money you've saved and you're like, I don't know that I'm really going to need this. I don't know where we're going to spend it. Great problem to have.
Yeah.
But then we switch over to this longevity conversation, and as soon as we do that, now we've got to take a look at things like a Roth conversion. You're taking money out of your IRA. You are paying taxes on it, but I'm paying taxes in one of the lowest tax rate environments we've ever had. I'm paying it in today's dollars, and then I can defer that money tax-free in a Roth for the rest of my life. Plus, when my beneficiaries receive it, they get another 10 years of that tax-free deferral. This can be a very powerful tool.
So many reasons why a Roth conversion is a positive thing to do for the audience.
Right.
Social Security, being able to keep more of it, not having to pay so much in your what is called provisional income. The RMDs, once you pay the taxes on it, you won't have to do those RMDs because you've already paid those taxes on it.
Exactly.
Your kids will be able to inherit it without having to pay taxes because you've already paid taxes on it. Now, I think something we sometimes need to be clear on is you're not part of the IRS.
No.
This isn't self-serving. In fact, it's more work on your office
Yes.
to do things like that. But you literally talk about doing a Roth conversion very simply because it's in the best interest of the person, the viewer.
And the great thing that we have in our office is software that we can actually find exactly what is the best for you. So we can look at, conversions at certain ages, at certain income brackets. So we can look at the 22%, the 24%, and we do this so that we can find that sweet spot. Last week we had, probably 7, 8 people in that we had this conversation with, and they were all different. Some people, the 12% bracket for conversions was ideal. Some 22. Some you jump up to 24, and what they would end up with in the future actually went down. This is highly personalized, and we have to be very intentional about it, but we have the ability in the software to be able to figure out for you what the best route to go is.
And I think the biggest problem for most regular viewers out there, and even for fantastic CPAs, is that when they get together, normally somebody walks in the door and says, I want to pay as little in taxes this year as possible. And that's the problem. We've been doing that for decades.
I just want to remove that last part off of the statement. I want to pay the least amount of taxes. Not
Period.
this year, but over my lifetime. And that is a different strategy than paying the least amount each year. All you're doing is kicking the can down the road to a future tax avalanche that eventually is going to catch up with either you or your beneficiaries.
For people who do work with Axum Planning and Wealth, talk about current clients.
Right.
You do these tax strategies for them, with them, or do you outsource them and tell them to go find their own CPA?
Yes. we do all of that. So if you already have a CPA that we can work with, we're happy to do that. But what we've found in our office is when everybody's on the same page, if we're talking to the CPA and the estate planning attorney and the financial planning guy and the wealth management guy and the insurance guy, and everybody's in the same office working together, people end up with a better plan. It's less expensive, and the impact that you have for your retirement and what you leave to your family when you're gone is immeasurably typically better.
We also like to try to keep things up to date as far as news and stories and legislative risk. Right now, it's as far as this taping, there are still taxes on Social Security across the nation. Have you seen the flags change the direction of wind at all now?
There's been a huge change in Social Security for teachers, state government workers, where you used to be stuck in that donut hole, was what we called it. They refer to it as a windfall provision, which is hilarious. It's like, it's not a windfall provision. I actually earned the Social Security credits. I'm supposed to get my Social Security, and you call it a windfall provision and take it away from me. So this has been going on for decades. That legislation is finally in place. So now, if you have worked in the private sector and you've worked in the government sector, and you have both a pension plan from a government work or state teacher's retirement, and you have Social Security, you now get both.
Yes, the windfall elimination has been eliminated itself. I know it's a little bit hard to kind of figure out, are you going to be able to get both? Are you going to get the Social Security on it? Hey, it's one of the things. You can call the phone number. We can try to help you at least map it out and figure these things out. But we also want to keep as much of our own Social Security. If we didn't have a pension plan, part of it is the taxation. Have we heard any new updates right now on what's happening with Social Security? Will it continue to be taxed? I think some people are kind of crossing their fingers on this. Oh, it should go away. I'm not sure myself.
Well, there's definitely legislation out there. We've reported on the You Earned It, You Keep It Act, the very popular piece of legislation that's kind of floating around out there that would essentially return Social Security to tax-free income, the way Roosevelt intended it to be. Yeah. The problem is, when Roosevelt started Social Security, life expectancy was 64. You got Social Security at 65, we didn't have a deficit in getting our Social Security. Today, now we've got people, an average married couple, somebody's going to live to be 95 years old. It's a different set of stress. So if they're able to actually get this through, the question is, how are they going to pay for it? And I think the way they're going to pay for it is increasing Social Security tax on the younger folks, which I guess if you're in Washington works out, because they don't vote as much as the people that are getting Social Security. So, I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready for that.
When it comes
legislation.
to financial planning, we say this as well, and this is nothing against any Social Security workers who you might know who work at the offices there, but they're not allowed to give financial planning advice. They don't do projections, stress testing of your income plan, and so forth. So, especially for people who have not turned on their Social Security yet, do you mind having that conversation with folks in your office?
No, in fact, we want to have that conversation with people. If you make your appointment at the Social Security office, they can tell you exactly what you're going to get on what age you claim. What they can't tell you is which one you should pick. They can't tell you the pluses and minuses. They can't tell you how Social Security is going to fit in with the rest of your financial plan. All they can do is say, if you claim at 64, here's what you're going to get. That's not enough for a lifetime decision on a value of almost $1 million for most people. If you look at Social Security, it's about $1 million of assets it would take to create that same income.
And that's per person. So between a couple, you could be talking about $2 million to $3 million worth of a decision. And unfortunately, we know that a lot of folks will just go either to SSA.gov, which we encourage you to do. You sign up, and you can kind of see your calculator there. But they look at the monthly amount and figure, okay, that looks like a good number. I'll take it. Instead of thinking of 20 to 30 years of, $1 million to $2 million, and there can be a difference of several $100,000 depending on when I take it. That's something that needs to be put into the calculation. And for our viewers, that's something you can do actually together with our team here at Axum Planning and Wealth. Let's do your Social Security strategy along with the rest of your income planning spend. Call that phone number right now. Let's get you started on your own no-cost retirement blueprint, your complete process for you to be and stay retired. Or if you want to, you can schedule it yourself. Open up your phone to the camera function, point it at the QR code, and just tap on it. It'll take you over to a landing page. You put in a little bit of input. You can schedule your own appointment right there. Folks, we know that market volatility has also been on your mind. Tim put together this special message. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
You know, one of the things that we're seeing in the office today is people are coming in with statements that are down 15, 20, 30%, and they're still needing that same income withdrawal, which means the percentage they're taking out from their portfolio is now higher, which increases that risk of running out of money in retirement. This is where planning for volatility really comes into play, and it's the biggest shift that we're making for new people coming in our office, trying to help them recover what they've lost, but also make sure that they don't run into that same situation down the road. When you're looking at retirement planning versus pre-retirement planning, that's the difference. One is about accumulation. It's about growing your money over time. Once you get to retirement, it's about distribution, which is a different strategy. At our office, what we focus on is giving jobs to the money. It's making sure that the dollars that we need to produce income have that volatility removed. That allows us to take risk in other areas because we have our income figured out. If volatility has been an issue, if you're looking at your statement right now and it's down 15, 20, 30%, do you know how you're going to get back? Do you know what you're going to do in the future if that happens again? If you don't, sit down with us for a complimentary review. Let us design a retirement blueprint to help you retire and, more importantly, stay retired.
Do you think your retirement savings is all yours? Think again. Your 401k, IRA, and pension come with a tax bill from Uncle Sam, and it could be bigger than what you expect. Want to find out how much you're going to owe? Our quick and easy tax calculator can show you right now. Just scan the QR code or visit us at blueprinttaxbill.com to see your potential tax bill and how to plan around it.
Welcome back. This is the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton of Axum Planning and Wealth. I'm Spike Spangle, trying to get everybody's hands out of our retirement pockets.
Yes.
Especially on that savings. But one of the biggest things that can actually affect how long our life savings last is something you were just talking about in one of those messages. Is today's market volatility.
Yeah.
Everything from sequence of returns risk, meaning when we're drawing out money, if the market is down, it's almost like a double loss, plus having to pay taxes on it. I mean, market volatility, this can really draw down things fast.
It really can. And, you know, if you look at, and this is kind of one of those terms, sequence of return risk. And I'm sure you're watching right now being like, I have no idea what that even means, Tim, but sequence of return risk, here's how I would explain it. It's not if the market's going to go down, it's when the market goes down in your retirement that matters. So if you start off in retirement and you get 5, 6, 7 really good years, and then there's some bad ones that trail off towards the end of your retirement, it's typically not a big deal. But if you get them up front, and the scariest time that I've seen in my career really was 2022. You know, the industry standard is we should put all of our money in a 60-40 stock to bond portfolio, take a 4% withdrawal rate, and then we wake up in 2022 to a 60-40 portfolio that was down 17%, worst market since 1931. And then we took 4% out for income. Now we're down 21%. January comes around. Now we're another 4%. We're down 25% at the very beginning of our retirement. That's the problem. And so the idea of just scooping all of our money together in one type of portfolio and taking a withdrawal rate doesn't work. I mean, it's got to, you know, if you look at Bill Bengen's study that dates back to 1991, the 4% withdrawal rule has a 78% probability of working out. I'm not getting on that airplane.
Yeah.
You know, 78% chance I'm getting to where I'm going. I'm not flying on that airplane, especially when there's one that has a 100% chance of success. So how do we do that? We get away from the old way of thinking and the old math. We start giving jobs to the money. We split out the money that we need for income, no volatility. Then we look at the money that's left over. That's growth, not age dependent, but job dependent. That's 30-year money. It still has to go up. We still have to keep pace with inflation because we're living longer. That's why that 4% rule broke down. When they did the longevity study back then, people weren't living that long. We also know that interest rates were at a height that we haven't seen since. So there's a lot of flaws in today's big box firm philosophies of how you should do things that simply don't work anymore.
Yeah, Levi inside the booth was saying our phones were starting to light up saying, what does he mean, one of the worst markets, 2022? People were saying, what about 2008? Here's what Tim is talking about, is that interest rates started to move in 2022, and there's an inverse relationship. If interest rates go up, bond values go down. If interest rates go down, bond values go up. So the interest rates were rising, bond values went down, the stock market freaked out, and a middle-of-the-road portfolio in 2022 got crushed. Yes, 2008 was terrible. The stock market itself lost 37%. But that was the stock market. People jumped over to safety. This was one of the first times also since the 1920s where the stock market and bond markets were correlated. They were both going down.
Because they're not supposed to be correlated.
Not at all.
If you look at a 10-year average, about 1.5 times in a 10-year average do we see a correlation where they both go up or they both go down, but usually they don't. They definitely don't go down the way that they did in 2022. I mean, I know that 17% doesn't sound like a lot, but on a diversified portfolio where only 60% of it has market exposure, the other 40% is supposed to be bomber, supposed to be safe, it's in bonds, and yet both of those got beat down at the same time. And if you're retired, that's a different lens to look through than maybe if I'm in my 30s or 40s and I'm like, you know, I don't care. I got plenty of time to make it up.
Yeah. As we're talking about trying to make sure that we're keeping our costs as low as we can, we will get to estate planning in some future shows here because we're getting a lot of phone calls on estate planning. Can we talk about it? And estate planning is about protection. But one thing we can control with markets in our portfolio is fees.
Yes.
Do you mind doing, explaining how fees actually drag down? People know that, but sometimes you could be in one kind of fund and just be in one that's a little bit lower cost.
Yeah, and when we talk about fees, we can't talk about fees without talking about value. And you know, one of the biggest frustrations that I have in the investment industry is that a lot of times we're paying fees and not getting a lot back for it.
All right, Tim, we still have a lot to say on these topics, so if you don't mind, go to WHIO. You can also listen to our radio program. We talk about these things for a full hour, but your action step right now is for you to call that phone number. You can get your own absolutely free retirement blueprint, the entire process for your income, your planning, estate planning, taxes, and so on. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week.